Hey everybody, welcome back to Comedy Therapy with Christian. Today's Tuesday, November the 12th. Hard to believe that already. Now there's the holidays coming and everybody wants to talk about Christmas. Oh boy, Christmas is coming. Relax. Pump the fucking brakes, alright? It's November 12th. Christmas happens on December 25th. But nobody gives a shit, right? Everybody's always rushing Christmas. Everybody wants to listen to Christmas music starting in like July. And you know what? That just desensitizes the whole thing. All right, so take your Christmas and wait until Thanksgiving, because Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday because there's no obligations. All you got to do is just show up and stuff your face until you're in a food coma. That sounds good to me. I think this whole notion of just skipping right over Thanksgiving, I'm not big on that. I was in a Macy's 2 days ago, and they had Christmas trees set up and all these little like gifts, and they even had "Oh Christmas Tree" playing throughout the PA system in the store. And I have to say, that was a little disappointing. It's a little frustrating. I was not a fan. Not a fan one bit. It's like, just stop rushing shit. Just take a look around you and just live in the moment, people. Everybody who wants to go and jump on each other, Black Friday, which now starts on Halloween, it's just so wild. I'm a Cyber Monday guy. Whatever I can do from the comfort of my own home in my pajamas, I'm gonna fucking do it. Oh God, it's just frustrating. I just want to go up to people that are rushing this Christmas thing and just go, take a breath, please. Let's talk about it. It's like, you know, when your dog is taking a shit and he's like looking at you while he's doing it. My dog does this. Shorty, he's a buggle. He's a maniac, but he's a good dog. But that's a private moment. They're taking a shit, you know? So they kind of look up at you with those eyes. I know this is a podcast, so you can't see my award-winning facial expressions, and they're kind of looking up at you with the eyes like, would you leave me alone? Do you mind? Do you really mind? Then somebody will walk outside, somebody else has a dog, somebody slams a car door, and it's like, will you fucking relax? My dog is trying to take a shit. I'm not going to blame it on my dog. I'm going to blame it on you. You're distracting my dog. He's trying to focus, okay? This is hard. I get it. This is hard. I have no idea where the hell I'm going with this, but I'm going to keep going. But it's like, when you're trying to let your dog just do his thing, like, just let us all do our thing with Christmas, okay? It's coming. Yes, it's exciting. It's great. But Thanksgiving is still little under 2.5 weeks away. But Thanksgiving is great. Hopefully, I'll get to do a Thanksgiving edition of the podcast. That'll be fun. That'll be from my old country of New York, Long Island. But I don't want to rush it. So that's really all the attention I'm going to give to that. Just stop thinking about Christmas and everything, because by the time you're there, you're sick of it. I like to still be excited Christmas morning when I wake up. I don't like to be like, oh yeah, it's been Christmas for the last month and a half. No. Thanksgiving. When Santa Claus comes through on that Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade float, that's when the Christmas season starts. Maroon. You ever notice that this is just a random sidetrack. Who am I kidding? This whole podcast is random sidetracks. The Santa Claus at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, he's getting skinnier and skinnier every year. That's not Santa, okay? Santa isn't supposed to be self-conscious like that. He's getting skinnier and skinnier every year, and he's up there waving around with the gloves. And then, of course, he does this, like, thing, you know? You ever see, like, not only with that parade, but you see it in movies, commercials, pictures, whatever, of Santa just, like, looking at kids and holding up a finger to his mouth and going, shh. That's a little fucking creepy. Like, you ever think of that? Like, why, Santa? Why do you want me to be quiet? Do you not want me to tell somebody that you've just broken into my house? You're now dropping shit underneath my tree? What the hell's the matter with you? Why are you telling me to shush? That is creepy. That is horror movie level creeping right there. Like, oh boy, Santa said to shush. It's not traumatizing enough that there's this guy in a big suit and he's huge and sweating like a maniac who claims he's been all over the world tonight. Probably hopped up on some kind of drug, at least in the kids' view. He's eating food that I left on the table. And then he looks at me and tells me, shh. That's weird. And I'm a little upset nobody talks about that. Because that's a little weird. You know, there's all these issues that keep people up at night. This is the shit that keeps me up at night. Because I'm an asshole. That's why. But moving on from that, wow, I've gone like 7 minutes of just bouncing around from topic to topic. But I love that because that's what this podcast is about. I'm having a nice bottle of root beer right now, all natural Virgil's handcrafted root beer. I've been getting into craft sodas lately, for those of you who know I don't drink. There's really little bits of entertainment I can get with just drinking soda or anything, but there's handcrafted stuff, and Virgil's is great. They got a great orange cream soda, vanilla cream soda. But I had my great workout this morning, and we're recording this now, and this is gonna be fucking great. Yeah. So, what went on this weekend? Not a whole lot of anything really. I mean, I don't leave the house, so what difference does it make? That's a joke. For those of you who are actually concerned, like, oh my God, he really doesn't leave the house? What's wrong? Why isn't he leaving the house? Is he depressed? Yes, I'm depressed. I have depression. I've had it my whole life. It's not preventing me from leaving the house, though. It's just sometimes there's not much going on. You got to convince me. You got to do a heavy load of convincing to get me to go out somewhere. It depends on a few things. Where people are going out to, who's going, and also who's going, because the people you're with are going to make it or break it. If there's people out there who, you know, maybe I'm not the biggest fan of, I'm like, well, it's a little fucking weird. I don't know about going out. I don't know about going to this bar that, you know, you walk in and the floors are all sticky, and it's like, how'd the floors get this sticky? You're going to tell me this many people have spilled drinks over the years? No. Maybe if you squeegeed the floor every once in a while, the floor wouldn't be so sticky. I hate that. Like, what? I have this weird affinity for dive bars also. As someone who doesn't drink, who just enjoys the culture of bars, because I write comedy and I try and find things that are weird and just go to a bar and just hang out there for 20 minutes at all, and you will have an hour's worth of material. But as somebody who goes, I like dive bars. Doesn't bother me if the floors are sticky there, But if you're walking into a place that it looks like really clean, it looks a little more high-end, people are in suits, it's not... It seems like a classy place, and then you walk in, you hear that little, squish. That's my ASMR, squish noise. Squish, squish, squish. And you walk in, and the floors are sticky. It's like, what the hell are they doing? And why... Oh, my mind is racing. Wow. That's what it's like, folks. That's what it's like to be me. You go from one thing to the next, and nobody can stop me. Do have some stuff to talk about later in the movie and film and TV section. I saw The Irishman this weekend, so we'll talk about that. I also watched an older movie. It's been out a while. It's called Burn After Reading by the Coen brothers, which I had never really previously enjoyed a Coen brothers movie. I know, crucify me, sue me, but I never really liked one, but I loved that movie, and we'll talk about that. And I also got to check out the premiere episode of The Mandalorian. Disney Plus went up today, so there's a lot to discuss with that. The weather's getting colder, so everybody's bundling up like we're in fucking tundra, and that's okay. You do whatever you want to make yourself warm, but don't act like you've never experienced cold before. It gets cold. I understand there are people from California who, never experienced the cold, and I'm like... And I'll talk to them. I'll be like, "Oh, so you've never experienced the cold before? Oh, you're in for a treat." Then they'll be like, "Yeah, well, have you experienced a fucking earthquake before?" And I'm like, "Okay, all right, I'm backing up. Back up the truck. Beep, beep, beep." I'm reading a good book right now. It's called Howard Stern Comes Again. It's his first book in a long time. And what it is it's a collection of all of his favorite interviews that he's ever done with celebrities over the years. And it's very enlightening. There's great interviews with comedians on there, singers, personalities, sometimes even political people. And it really gives you a broad understanding of who he is. Through his interviewing style, which has changed and evolved a lot since, his rebel days back in the 80s and 90s. But it's a great book. It's 500 pages. I've been reading it real fast. I'm on page 410 or something. So I'll be wrapping it up soon, but that's a great book. If any of you like that topic or are interested in celebrities' lives or how comedians got to be where they are, how singers got to be where they are, how politicians got to be where there's not really too much politics going on. He has a lot of interviews with Trump in there before he became president. And there's just a lot of enlightening stuff in there. So I would recommend this to anybody. I've been reading it it's a page turner. So it's called Howard Stern Comes Again. I highly recommend that. And my roommate, Nick, and I, we like to joke, whenever we have people over, kind of like you're reading from the Bible or whatever, you go, and now a selection from Howard Stern Comes Again. I don't know why I thought it was funny, but it's funny. I've been trying to work in these old expressions into my vernacular. If somebody tells me something that they're proud of or it's cool, I just go, well, I think that's the tops. Or that's the bee's knees. Most people look like they want to clock me in the fucking face when I say that. But I'm going to live my own life. You don't tell me what to do. I tell me what to do. All right. So there's that going on. So I'm currently having a decade crisis as to where my speech pattern lies. I was watching comedians in cars getting coffee the other day, a little bit today. It's a great show. If you don't if you've never watched it, it's on Netflix. The episodes are really easy. They're like 20 minutes long, and it's just Jerry Seinfeld driving around with comedians. And it's literally what the name is. It's comedians in cars, and then they go and get coffee. It's a great, entertaining show. Sometimes there's really enlightening facts about comedians, and you get some real insight into their lives. And sometimes the show's just hysterical also. It balances a lot of that. I'm a big fan. I am a big, big fan. So what else is going on? I'm still continuing with my workout regime. Look at me. What am I, a fucking dictator? No, regiment, my workout regiment. I run every morning. I do about a half an hour. It's improving my resting heart rate. My resting heart rate runs very high. I run between 90 and 100. That's just who I am. That's because I'm always looking for things. When I'm in a conversation, one can never tell if I'm fully there because I'm always trying to look 3 miles ahead to see if there's some kind of joke I can make out of it. Now, if it's a serious conversation and it's something of like a heavy subject matter, I'm there. I'm listening. But if it's something where it's just a banter conversation, I'm already 4 miles ahead trying to figure out where I can bring the conversation back to a callback, what I can do with it. So what the hell was I even talking about in the first place? My heart rate. So yeah, my heart rate runs pretty high. I've had heart issues on both sides of my family, so I'm doomed. But not if I keep running. I will prevent it. It's so weird because this is going to get dark for a second, okay? Buckle up. It's weird because I want to exercise, I want to stay in shape, and I'm doing that, and I think I'm doing a pretty decent job of it. But, whoa, there's a crane moving outside my window. It is just the most fascinating thing. All right, focus. So I like working out. I like putting myself back into shape, putting myself back together. But part of me wonders how much is it actually worth it? Because when people drop dead out of nowhere, like later in life, people just drop dead. You never hear them say, yeah, well, he had bad habits. He was, he drank every day and he, drank so much alcohol every day, blah, blah, blah. He smoked so much. He never took care of himself. He ate so much crap. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, sometimes you hear that, and sometimes people do drop dead from things like that. But you never hear them, you never hear them say that. You never hear them say, well, he was really out of shape, so it was just a matter of time. No, you always say, I don't get it. He worked out, he exercised every day, and I don't really understand where this came from. He ate bran every morning. He had an excellent fiber source. It was just going so well, and I don't know what he did wrong. That's what you always hear. So I don't know. I don't know where I stand. Do I really want to work out? Do I think it's worth it? Really? I think there is something to it. I think it's definitely a good thing for confidence. It's a good thing for just generally caring about yourself and how you carry yourself. And I just feel better after I do it, It sucks going through it. I don't think anybody enjoys it going through it. But afterwards, like right now, I'm so relaxed right now because I got all that out, my workout this morning. If you would have told me even a year ago that I'd be talking about shit like this, I would have punched you in the face. But alas, here we are. Take a sip of my root beer. I just spilled some of it on this lovely shirt I'm wearing. God, that's fucking worse. That's the pits. There's another expression. Oh, that's the pits. That's the worst. I'm a fucking weirdo. Don't even listen to me. But you are. You chose to tune into the podcast, whoever you are. I didn't force you. I didn't tell you to. That's just how life is. God, I want to... Music is just great. I love music. It can get you through the best of times in life and the worst of times. And it's just so fascinating how music works. Especially the music I'm into, classic rock, hard rock. It just speaks to me, and it's always spoken to me from a very young age. And it is incredible how a song, a simple 3-4 minute song, can stir up memories. It can stir up feelings, emotions. It could make you think of new things. It's wild. I love music. That was really all the point I wanted to make about music, but here we are. So now let's get into probably my biggest story from this week. And I saw The Irishman. Went to the theater by myself. I wasn't going to ask anybody to sit through a 3-hour and 29-minute movie with me unless they were really into it. So I went, the historic landmark E Street Cinema here in the lovely District of Columbia. I'd never been to the theater. It's very interesting. They do a lot of independent films there and stuff, and it was really the only city in the district, the only theater in the district that was showing this movie. So I'm like, all right, guess I'm going for the first time. So I go in. There's a lot of bars at movie theaters down here too, but this one had a really nice bar, and everybody was walking in with drinks. Most people were actually there by themselves as well because they probably had the same idea. I don't want to drag someone to this. Make them sit through this. So I go in. Everybody's got this weird fake happiness going on, and I'm just being me. I'm sitting there. I had a small bag of popcorn, a little bit of water. I didn't want to drink too much because I knew I would need to use the restroom probably pretty bad after 3.5 hours. But I was careful with my fluid intake. But with the popcorn, the salt from the butter makes you very thirsty. Look at me. I'm breaking down fucking nutrition facts now. I cracked myself up. Anyway, so I'm down there. It's kind of underground, the theater. It's not kind of underground. It's underground. You go down an escalator. And I'm watching this movie. Here I go in, and the theater's pretty packed. And it wasn't too packed when I got there, but once we got up to the time of showing the movie, like through the previews and everything, the trailers, it got pretty packed. And I'm like, okay, so people really are paying attention to this thing. People really want to see this. Movie, I'll talk about the movie itself now. Did not love it as much as I thought I would have. Really, my main issue with it, it's going to sound glaringly obvious, but my main issue with it is the length. 3 hours and 29 minutes is a lot to ask of people. There were easily 45 minutes you could have cut out of this movie. Because some things just drag, and there were some scenes that I felt like, well, did that really need to be in there, or did that work? By the way, I'm not going to go into spoilers at all. Granted, this is a true story, what happens in this movie, and you could look up or read about it in the book that it's based on, which I kind of started to read a little bit. It's called I Heard You Paint Houses. But I'm not going to spoil anything. But there were just some things in this movie that I was just like, why is that in there? Why are we doing this? And it never made me upset, didn't make me angry, like, for those of you who know me, like how that movie Ad Astra made me angry. That was a pointless piece of horse shit on the screen for a little over 2 hours, but I digress. No, what I could tell what I was watching on the screen with The Irishman was cinematic gold. It was, it was definitely a Scorsese movie. Felt like a Scorsese movie from the second it opened up. Especially a mob movie, a Scorsese mafia movie. And if you don't know the premise of the movie, it's basically The Irishman is a guy, his name was Frank Sheeran. Again, not going to spoil, but his name is Frank Sheeran, and he got in close with one of the bigger mafia families down in Philadelphia, or I guess relative to my position, Philadelphia is up. So up in Philadelphia. And, he got involved with the boss of one of the families by the name of Russell Bufalino. That's who Joe Pesci plays in the movie. Robert De Niro plays Frank Sheeran. And he gets really close with this family, this mafia family. But he's Irish. He can't become a made man. You can only become, they call it a made man, an official member of the mafia if you're 100% Italian. There's other things you got to go through, but the most basic requirement is you have to be 100% Italian. He was not, but he pretty much had all the perks of being a made man without being a made man. So he gets really tied in with this family, who also helps to do favors for the infamous or famous, however you view him, union leader, the Teamsters, Jimmy Hoffa, who is played by Al Pacino, who Al Pacino actually stands out in this movie. And I've always been a Pacino fan. I think he's underrated. I know he's only won one Oscar. He has put out some crap over the years, for sure. Like there's some where it's like, what the hell am I watching? I always thought he was great in all the Godfather movies. Yes, that includes even the third one. I think he shows a lot of emotional depth in the third movie, actually. More so than you see in the first and second. But I've always been a Pacino fan, but he steals the show in this movie. Anytime he's off screen, you can't wait until he comes back on screen, because, or at least that's how I felt. You just can't wait until he's going to come on screen and act like a nutball, because Jimmy Hoffa was a nutball. So it basically tells that story of the relationship between, the mafia and Jimmy Hoffa, how it gets tense at times and eventually reaches a huge boiling point, which is the climax of the movie. Again, I won't spoil it, but it is an old story. Things I liked about the movie, I actually liked the three main characters. Pacino I liked the best, Pesci I liked, and De Niro. Pesci was not the typical, Pesci. I do a horrible Pesci impression, but the over the top, what do you think, I'm a fucking clown? No, please don't pay attention to my Pesci impression. It's horrible. Or the My Cousin Vinny Pesci. It's a very reserved. He's kind of like the wise sage in this movie that Frank Sheeran will go to. And I thought De Niro actually was really good. I'm not really the biggest De Niro fan, but I actually thought he was very likable in this movie. And I thought that Scorsese did a great job of allowing us to empathize with the position that this guy was in. Because you could tell that deep down he was a good guy, and he got roped into doing bad things with the mafia. And yeah, he liked that life, and he liked living that life, but you really got to experience what was going on in his head. The more I talk about it, the more I realize how much of a good movie. I might have to watch it again. It'll be out on Netflix in a couple weeks, because it is a Netflix movie. It's just getting a limited theatrical release. But I might have to watch it again over the course of 3 days and just do an hour a day, because that's a lot in one sitting. So maybe I'll appreciate it more like that. But the movie's very well put together, and it's very well made. And we've been hearing about this movie for years, that this is a project that was very near to Scorsese's heart. And he was glad to have or at least I've heard he was glad to have the Netflix, that he was making it through Netflix and their studio system because, you could do whatever you want. And you can really just take the reins and just do whatever you want. He's like, so if I want to make this movie 3.5 hours, I'm going to make it 3.5 hours. And he did. So in one respect, I enjoy that he took that kind of initiative and said, hey, in order for me, or if he felt like that was the only way that he could tell that story, then good for him. And I applaud him for doing that. I salute him. Just for me personally, it was a lot to sit there for 3.5 hours. That's a lot to ask, to sit in one spot. And granted, I was never really bored in the movie. There's always enough going on screen, and there's enough dialogue going on where you're always engaged. You're always intrigued with what's going on. So I was never bored. It was just a lengthy movie. I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. Maybe if I watch it again in a couple weeks when it comes out on Netflix, which I probably will check it out again, I'll alter that rating a little bit. But for now, I'm still standing at 3.5 stars. Good movie, overall good movie, acted very well, written very well, shot very well, just a little overwhelming, listen to me. A little over the top and a little overwhelming, and kind of beats you on the head with a lot of stuff and expects you to sit there for a long time. So that was The Irishman. Again, 3.5 out of 5 stars. I'd recommend seeing it if you want to check it out, and if it's been something you've been looking forward to, definitely go check it out. Take a look at it. If you don't feel like going to see it in the theaters, which I always recommend seeing things in the theaters because I think it's a dying art. But if you want to go see it in the theater, please do. And I would encourage all of you to do that. Whoever's listening, all 3 people. I'd encourage you to go to the theater, but if you feel like you can't, it'll be out on Netflix in a couple weeks, so I'd say definitely check it out, at the very least, when it comes out on Netflix. So that was that. Also, a really quick recap of another movie I watched this week called Burn After Reading by the Coen brothers. Now, I had said before that I'm really not a big fan of the Coen brothers. I had never really watched a movie or one of their movies that really spoke to me. I never related to really anything. Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou? I understand is a very good movie. There's a lot of humor in it. There's, all this. It just never really clicked with me, that movie. And I've seen that a bunch of times, and I know that it's like a classic among so many people, and that's great. But to me, there was just something that just wasn't working for me in that movie. And there were other movies too that they've done. Like, let me see. I didn't see their most recent one. What was that? Ballad of Buster Scruggs. I didn't see that. That's the Netflix movie. I'm just going to go on to the International Movie Database, IMDb. Let me see. Coen brothers. Okay, let's see. Joel Coen, Ethan Coen, and Joel Coen. Let's just go. I guess I can click on either of them and see what they've done. I've never seen the movie Fargo. However, I do want to see that. Let me see. They're working at Fargo, Ballad of Buster Scruggs. Hail Caesar, I heard, was not that good. I never saw that. Inside Llewyn Davis, never saw that. I did see that, and I wasn't crazy about it. True Grit, never saw that. Serious Man, Burn After Reading, that was one. No Country for Old Men, I didn't even really like that movie. And Big Lebowski, I didn't really like. Again, I want to watch Fargo because I understand that's a classic and I got to read that. But this Burn After Reading movie, I just lost it. it's just a tale about espionage, but not in the traditional way. And I loved every minute of it. I really did. I was engaged. It was funny. It was ridiculous. It was over the top, and I loved it. And I understood every minute, and it's just turns into a clusterfuck of just awful. Like, you know how in real espionage movies, you know, whatever, spy movies, there can be an element of, you know, there's always that point where everything's building up and everything's getting so crazy, but it's tense. In this, it's funny because you're like, what the hell is going to happen? And it's just entertaining. Burn After Reading. Definitely check it out. I don't really want to say too much else about that because that movie's kind of easy to spoil. It's only an hour and 36 minutes. Hour and a half. So just check it out. It's on Netflix right now. I might even watch it again in the next couple days because I just thought it was really entertaining. I really liked it. All right. Next up, big thing today. Disney launched their very first streaming service, Disney Plus. It's been talked about for a while now, probably about a year, I think, at least. Maybe this January is when they started talking about it, maybe, if it was less than a year. Don't really know, but people have been talking about it for a while. There's been a lot of hype built up about it. I read Bob Iger's book. Bob Iger is the CEO of Disney, and that man just has done a lot for that company, and he's bought a lot of other companies and really built Disney up into this massive juggernaut that it is today. But one of the things that was towards the end of the book, obviously since it hadn't happened yet, but he was talking about Disney Plus and the streaming service. And it's $6.99 a month, I believe. So I got it. And the thing that I'm really excited about, it has all the Marvel movies. It has all the Star Wars movies, you know, with the exception of the ones that are still on Netflix. But once they come off Netflix, because everything's on kind of like a cycle schedule there. Once they come off of Netflix, they're going to go on to Disney Plus for good. So I think even though all that's there and all those movies, and they have all the classic Disney movies, all the classic Pixar movies, they're still, you know, they're doing original series. And I think original movies also. But the biggest story, the biggest original series is this Mandalorian series about bounty hunting in the Star Wars world. The main character, he's in a suit that's pretty much just like Boba Fett. And essentially, let me tell you what I think about the entire service, first of all. I haven't really got to play around with it that much. I woke up, I installed it on my TV, on my phone, iPad, on my Xbox, kind of got it installed everywhere. And I really couldn't get it to work anywhere. It was not loading stuff. It was having trouble connecting. And I think a big part of that is because it just launched today and literally millions of people are trying to get onto this thing. And literally it's just so many people at once, and that happens, and the servers can get overloaded. So I haven't checked it out since this morning. The way I finally got it was you can actually cast to your TV from the app on your phone, so that's what I did. The app on my phone was working. The app on my TV and the app on my Xbox was not working. So maybe they'll straighten that out. I think they will. Again, I think it's just because they're probably overloaded right now. So I watched The Mandalorian. I got to say, I enjoyed it. I thought the first half of the episode was a little slow. I'm like, okay, when are we taking off? What are we doing here? And it never really takes off the episode, and I don't think it's supposed to. It's supposed to just introduce you to this world. And they're releasing these episodes week by week. They're not just releasing seasons at a time, like on Netflix or something like that. They're doing it week after week. So I guess the next one comes out next Tuesday. But so that's kind of cool, harkening back to, how network television still works, and even things like HBO and Showtime and everything. That's still stuff that comes out every week. So I think they're trying to call back to that and kind of get people back into that train. When I watched the first episode, I enjoyed it. Again, I'm not going to spoil anything. There is a pretty big spoiler, as literally the last shot in the episode is kind of groundbreaking. I was shocked, and you're going to know what I'm talking about if you've seen it, and if you haven't, then you'll know what I'm talking about when you do watch it. And maybe I'll do like a special spoiler review of this show, or episode recaps as we go on, filled with spoilers. Maybe I'll bring in some people for that, because almost everybody I know is watching this thing. But it seems like it's going to be a good show. I think it's got a lot of potential. Pedro Pascal is awesome. I watched Narcos earlier this year. Maybe it wasn't even early. Maybe it was last year. I think it was earlier this year. I watched Narcos very quickly all the way through. He was great in that show. He's a very dynamic actor. He's a very likable guy when he's on screen. You can know that you can get behind him. He's just a good guy, and he's a good actor. Granted, you don't see his face in this show because he's wearing a helmet and a mask all the time, so that's hard on an actor. You're literally acting through body language and your voice, no facial expression. So he's really cool. I was glad. I was glad when I heard that they cast him in this, and I think he's going to be good to kind of carry this show into the future. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I'd recommend anybody, if you're a Star Wars fan, even if you're not a Star Wars fan, check it out. Check out Disney Plus, because they have a lot of stuff on there from all the companies that they own, including themselves, including all the early Disney movies, the classics, the cartoons. And it's cool. I haven't really had time or had a chance to look through all of it, but the service looks promising. I'm hoping I'm hoping when I go back on later today that some of those bugs will be fixed, and maybe less people are trying to get on at once, or maybe that might last all through today, just because people are doing it at different points today. It might even last the rest of the week. No one really knows. However, I enjoyed The Mandalorian. Maybe I'll do a spoiler episode as that is kind of like a one-off kind of thing if anyone wants to listen to it, like an episode 3.5 or whatever. But that's about it for me today, folks. I want to thank you for tuning in and listening. This has been fun, just like it usually is. I like just coming down and having a conversation with you lovely folks for I guess anywhere between 45 minutes and an hour. What I try to do is I try to get this to 40 minutes, at the very least. And if I can tell I'm running out of steam, which I can tell right now, then I usually try and wrap it up, because you can tell after I've run out of steam that I'll just start picking at things, and it won't sound coherent. It won't sound intelligent. Well, granted, not much I say sounds intelligent, but that's a completely different issue to discuss with my therapist. Anyway, hope you all have a great Tuesday. I'm trying to think if there's anything special going on today, or anything big going on in the world. I don't know. How the hell would I know? But no, I guess. Oh, excuse me. See, I'm yawning. Shit. So you all enjoy your day. I'm going to enjoy my my Virgil's handcrafted root beer. And I'm going to get back to work on something. I'm working on a project right now that I think will be very exciting. It's nothing big. It's just something I'm working on independently on my own, and I'm very excited to share it with people. It will be of the video medium, so I'm really excited about it, and I can't wait to continue work on it and get going. So once again, folks, thank you for tuning in. And I want to thank everybody for their continued support of this podcast. I'll be running into people that maybe I don't talk to so often or whatever, and they'll just be like, yo, man, like I listened to your podcast, or it's really good, and I really get a lot of enjoyment. They're like, the mic you're using, it sounds like I'm sitting in the room with you, and that's great. For those of you who are wondering, this is a Audio Technica, looks like AT2020 mic. I don't know if that's the kind of, maybe it also says P48. I don't know what any of this is. It's my roommate's mic, Nick Gangembi. Maybe we'll have him on for an episode, and he'll describe everything about the mic for us if we want. But this is a really good mic, and I'm really glad that I have this thing. And I'm glad that he's lending it to me. I realize I said have like it's possessive, like it's mine. It's not. So I'm glad that this is, affecting people, and even in little ways that I've gotten messages from people saying I was dying laughing, walking around listening to the podcast in my headphones, and people thought I was insane. I'm like, good. That's the goal. If you're laughing so hard at my podcast that people think you're insane, that means I must be doing something right. So thank you, everybody that's been listening and supporting and continuing to listen and support. This episode is going to go right up. Again, this is another pre-recorded episode, but it's going to go right up after I finish up here. And I can't wait to hear feedback and response. Keep pouring in feedback. And I'm probably going to make social media pages for the podcast itself instead of trying to share everything on my regular podcast. It's just exhausting. On my regular podcast, listen to me. On my regular Instagram, I don't want to keep burdening people with that, so I'm going to probably create a Instagram account for this, Twitter account, maybe even Facebook, and I'll post everything through that. But hopefully that'll be coming in the near future. So keep your eyes out for that. And we'll get updates on the show and scheduling things. I am still working on trying to get a guest. Our first guest, I was talking to a friend of mine, Juju. She is a lovely, entertaining friend of mine, and we have great banter. We went to school together, and we talked all throughout all of our classes, just like about bullshit and everything. And she'd be great to have on, and she's very passionate about movies and television and a lot of the stuff that I'm into also. So I think it'd be a real treat to have her on. So I'm trying to get the guest thing going soon, and then I got a couple more people to put on after that. So anyway, I said I was going to wrap it up, and we're now at 48 minutes, so whoop-de-fucking-do. Thank you for tuning in again, guys, and enjoy the rest of your day. Look on the bright side, everybody. Stay happy.